Hey, how's it going, guys? Just gonna give it a second to let people join, and then we'll get started. How's the audio levels? My voice sound alright? Does the music sound alright? What's up, dudes? Now you can see me. Give it another minute here, and then we'll get started. What do we got? 43 people. How's everybody doing? How's everybody's weekend been? Back to Monday tomorrow. Ah, Rails of the World, what's up, buddy? Bobby Stanford. 2716, what's up, guys? All the way from Norway, much love your videos. Thank you, Mila Lola. Carlos, what's up, buddy? All right, let's switch over to Tane. Set some things up. So I'm gonna try to divide my time between chatting with you guys, reading the stream, and actually trying to do anything here. Stephen Hibbs, it's his birthday tomorrow. Say happy birthday. Every day is a Monday when you work for the railroad. Isn't that true? All right, let's see. What are we going to do today? $54 people. Cool. All right, so first, I want to show you guys these guys. So actually, there's a slightly newer version that I didn't have time to download of these, but Justin over at Jointed Rail put these together for me. I just downloaded them, I think, earlier today. And there's a slightly better version with the logo. Logo was designed by P-Bot on the trains forums. I believe his name was John. So thank you so much for designing that for me and donating it and letting me use it. Again, these engines were made by Justin Cornell at Jointed Rail, and I just love it, man. He did an outstanding job. I have not yet taken them for a spin yet, so I don't know what the horn sounds like or anything like that, but it fits in just absolutely perfectly with the rest of this layout. So I'm super happy about that, super excited. Trying to get some other engines built as well. We've got the GP9s down here. These are the ones that I was building. I haven't had time to devote to actually finishing it or weathering it or anything like that. It's got the old style logo on it as well. Run a train, he says. Yeah, maybe we'll get to that in a little bit. I think the first thing, I don't really have a huge plan for this. Other than try to get some of this mainline stuff done. If you guys have any suggestions, I'm certainly open to that. I'll peek over at the chat every once in a while. I've got my my MacBook Pro set up off to the side since I don't have dual monitors, and I'm trying to side-eye the chat window. I wonder if I could make it a little bit bigger. Tim Villa, yes, I do remember you. I recognize a lot of you guys' names. A lot of you have been around since my first videos, which is really crazy. Very cool indeed. Take them for a spin. I think we'll take them for a spin in a little bit. I think the first thing we're gonna do, trying to decide if I want to work up this way and then work my way down to Old Town Junction, or if I want to go the other way around. No pressure or anything, right? It's not like there's not a whole bunch of people watching me live. Carlos played on the original route. That's awesome. And Bill is here apparently. I didn't see him pop in. All right, I gotta get to work here. Let's see, which should we start with? I guess we'll start doing some of this. So we'll do a little scenery around here. Try to work on the main line of the branch, the main part of the branch, and we'll build our way. I don't know. We'll probably jump around a little tiny bit, do some different stuff. One thing that did happen when I got my new computer and I reinstalled Trains in New Era, I lost all of my pick lists, so I've been like slowly rebuilding them. Ah, they're gone again? This game. Oh my gosh. I started to make a pick list and now it's gone again. All right, so I'll be making pick lists as we do some work. Oh, that sucks, man. All right. So, let's see. What can I talk about with you guys? Lots of different things. I was thinking I've got a lot of different stories I could tell you while we do some work here. Just trying to get my head straight. Got to get the lay of the land before I do anything. One thing I wanted to add actually over here. I wonder if there's like a culvert or something like that I could add. I wanted to add a culvert maybe right here for some drainage. Might look kind of neat. That's garbage. What do we got in splines? Train's a new error, yeah. Culvert pipes. Maybe we could do just a short little bridge. What do we think? Let's see what we got. Bendy plate girder bridge. That might be too much. You know what? Let's skip that for now. We're gonna do a little bit of this. Whoa! That is not what I wanted. Just want to level off this terrain just a little tiny bit. Make it too much of a fill. So I bet a lot of you guys are on summer vacation right now, huh? Just level this out a little tiny bit. Somebody was asking me how I make nice hills. I kind of just use a big brush, I think is the best thing to do, so you cover a large area. And then keep the sensitivity kind of low. And I use the... what is this tool right here? The plateau tool. And it kind of helps like level things out a little tiny bit, so you get a nice smooth sort of transition between between the grade and the high points and the low points. You could also use, although I don't use it as much, the height adjust tool. I don't particularly enjoy that, but it does work. And then I come back through, and then I'll hit it with some of this track leveling tool, smooth spline height, I believe it is called. So we could do that. We'll throw down some ballast. So let's see. I'm trying to think of some stories that I could tell you guys that might be interesting. When I was a kid, a long time ago, practically in a different lifetime, my grandfather, as you guys know from one of my stories, one of my videos, my grandfather used to work for the railroad, and I lived right next to the railroad tracks, right next to a big railroad yard, and it happened to be a yard that he worked out of quite frequently. So when I was a little kid, probably about 2 years old, I'd hear a train coming, and I'd go run outside with my dad, and we'd stand at the crossing, and on occasion, it was my grandfather he was a conductor, so he would be on the left-hand side of the engine, and if it was a northbound train, I would always get to see him. He'd hang out the window and he'd wave at me, and they'd blow the horn for me, and that's kind of where I got hooked on the railroad sort of stuff early on. That really stuck with me when I was a little kid, so some fond memories. And he used to take me on tours and stuff too. Like he took me over to the railroad yard once, and brought me. So this was back during. This would have been the Conrail days. So he would bring me, and there were still cabooses in use too, which I think was really cool. He brought me over to the rail yard a couple of times, and he brought me into a locomotive as well as a caboose, and gave me kind of a tour when I was a wee little young lad. And man, I'll never forget that. I think I even got to blow the horn too in the yard, and that was obviously back before the days when, you know, now the railroad is like super tight. Trespassing is a big problem, and they don't let just anybody kind of come on the property. So those days are long gone, but I definitely will never forget that, going into the caboose and stuff like that. And I was always fascinated with like the rear of an engine. Like if you're looking at it like a GP38, I always liked watching them run backwards, like from this angle right here. But I never understood that this was the back of the engine. So when he took me into the locomotive, I wanted to go into the other part of the engine, and he's like, no, this is actually it. This is the engine, or this is the cab part of the engine. I was like, no, I want to go into the other side. I was too young. I didn't know any better. But I did always, and I still today really enjoy watching the engines run. I think they call it hammerhead style, which is pretty cool. I gotta make a pick list here for some of this stuff. I can't believe those pick lists are gone. Create a pick list. This will be ground texture. Makes me wonder if I'm gonna make these pick lists and then it's just gonna disappear on me again, and then the next time I run this game. Let's put this in there. Looks like everybody's getting along pretty well in there, in the chat. That's cool. Yeah, so let's see what else. I need to get these other textures. Sometimes this game lags like you can't even imagine. Actually, you probably can imagine it, because I think everybody here probably, you're here because you like to play Tane as well. This is another texture I use a lot. So yeah, he worked on the railroad right up until like 1993 or 95 or something like that, I think is when he retired. And there was a few times where we would be driving along the highway, and I remember seeing him like out switching cars on the side of the road where the train tracks paralleled the highway. Just being a little kid, that was just the coolest thing in the world, to see my grandfather actually running these huge trains. And I had no idea how any of that worked or anything like that. It was just so fascinating to see that and see these big trains and big locomotives just driving pretty much right through my backyard. And there was my grandfather actually out there throwing switches and coupling and uncoupling cars and stuff like that. So he's got a kick out of that. I wish I had some photos from back then. I think maybe my dad might have. He might have taken a few. Somebody has to have some somewhere. All right, I gotta make another pick list too. This is gonna be vegetation. Alright, so I need this grass. Oh, look, a bug. Get rid of that. We need some grass. We're going to need some shrubs. I like using these things. Light, dry, short. We got some trees. So I like to use a lot of the same assets, like vegetation-wise, over and over again. I think it's a great way to, oh my god, it's a great way to have consistency to your route. Like, not necessarily like cloning everything over and over again, but if you're building in a certain region, you're not going to have like a tremendous variety of trees like everywhere you look. So you shouldn't be using different trees all the time. And speaking of trees, actually, I know I need to update these billboard trees to either speed trees or the newer billboard style trees that are out there that somebody, I think the guys at Jointed Rail pointed that out to me. I can't remember what the name of what those trees are. Let's see. The way I kind of look at it is way back when I was in college and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I decided to kind of like focus on doing art, and they always used to tell us that on a painter's palette, the painter would put down the paint that they're going to use, and some of those colors would kind of mix together, and across the whole project you would be using the same paint, and you'd get like little blurbs of like the same colors mixed in together here and there. So I always kind of picture it like that. Like I'm making a palette, and some of it is going to be different, some of it's going to be kind of blended together, and but it's the best way to keep consistency. I don't like this big hole here. Let's do this. No, not sensitivity. Man, I got my phone is going off too. Alright. Let's level this off. I've seen people do techniques where they stretch a spline like down a hillside, like a piece of rail or a big road, and then use the spline leveling tool to kind of get like a smooth look to it. I mean, it works, but my... Oh, looks like we're back. Yeah, I don't know what just happened there. I just got a little pop-up that said OBS just went offline. I have no idea why. Alright, well, anyway. I don't know if my voice got cut off or where it got cut off, so... let's just keep going here. Just trying to smooth out this hillside just a little tiny bit. And then we'll throw some vegetation on it. Is the stream still looking alright? It looks fine on my computer over here, my Mac. Fine. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Yeah, so a lot of times I like to come down to track level and just kind of see how things are kind of shaping up. And just kind of copy and paste some of these areas. Mostly, like, I set up like this little, I don't know, a little thing to copy and paste with a couple of trees, a little bit of grass, some shrubs, and some ground texture. And I kind of tend to go through that, and then I'll rearrange some things, delete some things, move some things around. And that tends to work out pretty nicely, just to keep things a little bit randomized, and it's not totally like cut, copied, and pasted over and over again. I'm gonna have to do some ground texturing through here so that it matches up. Throw some of this. So this is starting to look more like a real place, and not so much like I just cookie cutted it really quickly. So we're getting there. Let's use... blend some of this together. So the secret with, at least my secret, again with texturing, is to use the same kind of assets over and over again. And find some that blend together really nicely. And just make use of that as much as possible. This is gonna have to be smoothed out a little tiny bit. I like a lot of cuts and fills and stuff like that, because if you actually look at a railroad right of way, there's a lot of, it's pretty much cut, fill, cut, fill, cut, fill, like throughout the whole right of way. So if you can kind of get that look, that is extremely helpful. So let's see, maybe I don't want to go that big. So this is kind of where this smoothing, what is this? This plateau tool. This is where it really comes in handy when you have a big fill like this and you want to even it out a little bit. Do you guys see this blue flashing? I have no idea what that is. My game has always done this, and I don't know if it's something to do with my video card or what, but it's constantly doing this when I'm trying to edit ground textures. It's kind of annoying. So I'll probably go over this a couple times and then use my my spline leveling tool here. Kind of even it out a little bit. All right, that's looking a little bit better. Oh man, that is so annoying. All right, let's see. What other stories could I tell you? Some of you guys had asked me in the past if I work for the railroad or if I've ever worked for the railroad. And the answer is no. I did interview with CSX back in 2014. And they called me up to actually come in and do whatever the second part of the interview process was. I think it's the hang test and the weightlifting and all that sort of like the physical part of the process. And I just by then I just decided that that wasn't something that I wanted to do. It was kind of interesting during the process. They were looking at my resume and they saw that I have a lot of like photography and like filmmaking stuff on it, and they the lady who was interviewing me was like, "Are you sure this is the right job for you? You seem to be very passionate about this industry." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm not making any money." But I ended up changing my mind and just staying focused on the film industry and photography sort of thing. And somehow I ended up doing this. That's my story there. I did volunteer for a little while with the Catskill Mountain Railroad. That is a little tourist railroad near my hometown. And I still go down there in the summertime, and I'm kind of like their unofficial photographer. Anytime they run special excursions and that sort of thing, I try to get out to town and photograph them. They had a steam engine there last year. I think it's coming back this year. The Viscose number 8 or something like that. It's a little tiny potbelly steam engine. And photographed that last year. They do some other excursions. I try to get out there and photograph that. I did help them with some tire replacement and rehab years ago. I think it was back in 2003, maybe. I was out there trying to help them rehab the track and get some stuff back in service. But I haven't been out there since then, actually, like spiking ties or doing anything like that. Most of my time is spent doing photography for them, and then I donate the photos so that they could use them for promotional press releases or whatever else. How's this looking? That's looking kind of cool. I think I need to add some shrubs over here. Yeah, I saw Jointed Rail does have a Catskill Mountain Railroad loco, which I'm trying to get my hands on. Trevor Trains, hey, Approach Medium, how are you? I'm doing pretty good, Trevor. How about yourself? Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the stream. Okay, let's see. What else can we do here? I try not to spam too many plants and stuff like that, because that's really not the best way to do it. But sometimes to cover a large area, you have to just throw some stuff down and kind of, in the photography industry, we call it spray and pray, where you just shoot a whole bunch of photos all at once and hope that somewhere in there is something good and useful. So we'll do that. Move some of these around. Whoa, 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 whoa. Again, I am moving things around that I am not trying to move around. Wow, we got 72 people watching right now. This is awesome. Welcome. If you guys are new to the channel, I welcome you to my YouTube channel. I welcome you to the stream. Thank you for joining me. Try to have some fun, watch some trains, run some trains, build some maps. Let's throw down. We need some spruce trees. I'll throw you here. When I put these trees down, I kind of like, you might have noticed by now, I kind of like putting them in groups with like a big tree and then a couple of smaller trees around it. And sometimes I'll lean them. Come on, I want to grab this other one. There we go. I like to roll some of these a little bit because it adds a little bit of visual interest. And not all trees are perfectly upright, so come on. I like this song. It's funky. So let's see, we'll add a couple over here. And some of this ballast is looking a little bit too samey. So mix it up a little bit. You should always, if you're using, if you're texturing and you don't know this, if you hold down the bracket key, it'll spin around the direction of the texture. So it constantly, if you just hold it down, it just rotates it. So you get kind of a more randomized look. I usually like to keep the scale pretty low too, when I can. This side needs more dirt. Where's my other dirt? There's one dirt that I use that I like a lot. Oh, it's just called brown dirt. That's useful. I like using this one a lot. It's got a really dusty look to it. It's bright. And normally what I do, I didn't do it here. I usually put like a base texture down underneath the ballast. So like kind of hit the dirt first and then come over it with a little bit of ballast. Like that. And then we'll come back with the ballast. Yeah, so back to volunteering with the railroad. So yeah, I volunteer for the Catskill Mountain Railroad on occasion. I did get a cab ride in the 401 last year, which was really, really awesome. What was really cool for me about the Catskill Mountain Railroad and being able to ride in the cab is that before my grandfather had worked for Conrail while he was working for Penn Central, and before that, I think even New York Central. The Catskill Mountain branch was part of the New York Central Railroad, and he operated up on there from Kingston up to all the way out to Oneonta, because it was still running out to Oneonta at the time. And so for me to be able to get in the cab of an engine and ride down those same tracks that he used to actually work on, and have been kind of more or less defunct since 1977. I mean, the Catskill Mountain Railroad was around since the 80s, but a lot of the track was just out of service, so not a whole lot of trains operated on it for a long time. But to be able to get back in the cab and ride down those same rails, almost like as a conductor, I kind of pretended like I was my grandfather, just taking a train out to Oneonta and having to go 5 miles an hour because the track conditions were just so bad. They were so bad. Penn Central just let that branch deteriorate to an incredibly bad condition, where he used to tell me that it was 5 miles an hour from Kingston to Oneonta, which I think is like a 60 or 70 miles away. So it would literally take them an entire day just to get all the way out there. Meanwhile, you know, making drop-offs and pickups and stuff like that. And they just had constant derailments. And as I've been told, the last train on the branch, he actually worked on the last train, the very last freight train that ran on the Catskill Mountain branch in 1977. They were only operating from Stamford, I believe. I think from Stamford to Oneonta was already like abandoned. And they started in Stamford, and they took a train back. And from what I've heard, the track conditions were so bad that they had a rail crew actually have to go in and replace some of the ties in some of the soft spots, just so that they could get the last train out of there, because it was just so deteriorated. There was no way that a full-size train was going to make it without derailing. And I want to say it took them 5 days to get that last train to pick up all the cars. That was back in 77. Nothing had run on most of the lines since then. Pretty sad. It's a beautiful, beautiful stretch of track. Very scenic. It parallels the Esopus Creek. It's just really beautiful. And at this point, the county wants to turn it into a rail trail, which is, you know, this huge movement going on in New York State right now. And it's pretty irritating because the tracks are in incredibly good condition for the fact that they haven't had trains on them in a long time. And to decide to turn that into a rail trail is just, it's a waste in my opinion. Sorry, I needed a drink of water there. So there's a big fight going on right now locally about keeping the tourist railroad or turning it into a rail trail. And it's really, there's so many trails in the Catskills and so many rail trails already. Like, there really is no need to do yet another rail trail, especially when the railroad is totally functional, and the tracks are definitely rehabable without much of a problem. So it's kind of a tragic thing to see happening, but hopefully hopefully the battle continues and the Catskill Mountain Railroad guys can come out on top and keep operating their trains. And it's kind of the same thing that's going on up in the Adirondacks with the Adirondack Scenic Railroad, which, I mean, I get the argument that people want to have rail trails, but when you can economically and feasibly build a trail paralleling the tracks, I don't see any reason that you need to actually rip up the rails when you could have both. Why? You know, everybody could win. I'm just gonna fly down here and get some stuff to copy. I gotta do a little bit of work over here because it's too samey. But let's see, we'll copy and paste some stuff. The other thing with copying and pasting is if you do it enough over a broad enough region, you start to get variety naturally anyway, because you start mixing things up, kind of like accidentally, I guess you could say. Let's see. It's going to be the best way to do this. I guess we'll do one of those. We'll do one of those. Then we drag. And then when I drag this sort of stuff, like, I just do it as randomly as possible. I already know I like these assets and I like them, how they're paired up and stuff like that. So it's more a matter of just filling in the area. Not you. You're a filler tree. One of the things that I do also, which you might notice, is that the trees in the background, I just used, like... These trees are not particularly good looking, but they're big, so they fill up a huge area. So I use those. They don't look that great, but they give a texture and, you know, some form to the background. And then up front, right next to the tracks, I use some of the nicer trees that I have. Like I said, I will go through and replace these trees eventually, but right now I'm kind of so close to getting this done and getting it released that I think I'm probably just going to leave these, and then for future projects I'll start incorporating some of the newer trees and some newer assets and stuff like that. I'll take a peek at the chat for a second. When will the map and everything be public? So I haven't come up. What's up, Creepy DP? I haven't come up with a full release plan. Oh man. What I think the way that this is gonna happen is I'm gonna release the first phase once it's ready, and that will be free. The P&B is always gonna be free. But I think we might develop through Jointed Rail. We're going to develop some payware, like add-on packs. So I'd like to have a few freeware locomotives and stuff that I can include with the route when it comes out. I don't want to have to like charge people for everything. I don't think that that's necessary. But some of the stuff, you know, Jointed Rail, the models that they make, they were made to be payware initially, so they deserve to earn an income off of that. Earn some revenue. So it's really going to be up to them what engines that we make and what engines we release that will be payware or freeware. So I haven't had the time to really talk it over with anybody because of this move that I've been in, and a lot of my time has just been trying to develop this and get it to a point where I can even really consider possibly getting it out for public release. But I think we'll probably have... I'd like to have a decent-sized locomotive roster. And I've talked about this in the past, having like second-hand locomotives and things like that. I wouldn't mind having a few that are like maybe almost like an old CSX locomotive, so it's still in the CSX paint scheme and has like the P&B logo on the door or something like that. Would be kind of neat. Now, why did I grab that? Man. So that might be kind of cool. And again, I'll develop some free stuff too. I want to make some... I'd like to make some coal hoppers and that sort of thing. Since this is mostly kind of a coal hauling route, it'd be cool to have some of that. I'd like to have a maintenance of way pack as well, which I think on the download station there's a whole... yeah, now this is starting to look pretty good. I think there's a whole bunch of blanks for skinning of like cranes and different types of maintenance equipment that anybody can skin and then just put back on the download station. So I might look into that, or I will look into that at some point once my schedule frees up a little tiny bit, and try to skin up some of that sort of stuff so that way we can have kind of like a very specific individualized fleet of equipment for the Pennsylvania and Berwyn. Would be really, really cool. Really cool to have. But again, like I said, as far as like a timeline for that all to happen, I have no idea. This move and this new job that I took on has uprooted me so severely, and I was just not prepared for the amount of work that it was going to be to move from Brooklyn all the way out to Western New York and just totally rebuild my life out here. And we're just still schlepping through boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff. And a lot of it at this point is like decorations, like paintings and pictures and stuff and whatever kind of stuff you put on shelves. What happened to the Needles District? I'll talk about that next. So yeah, once my time frees up a little bit more, I can get back into producing videos and developing more content for the P&B. Needles, what happened to Needles? Needles is pretty much good to go. The thing that I'm waiting on with Needles to release it is Mike at Jointed Rail took some time, and he's putting together like a sub page for me to have on Jointed Rail's website. So I'm gonna have like a blog, and I'll be able to host like some of the stuff that I make, which will be like the P&B, Needles, any skins that I do and that sort of thing. So that'll be like my hub. And again, just due to my lack of time, I can get into it now and I can start developing stuff. But I haven't had the time to actually jump in and write up a blog and take a bunch of screenshots and stuff like that. It's just, I've been playing catch up for quite a while now. So once I get that, hopefully it'll only be a few more weeks from now once things start to settle down. Then I can get Needles up, and you guys can check it out. I think there's a few things that I want to revise. I really was not crazy about the fascia that I used in there, and some of the walls and stuff like that. I'm wondering, I have to look around and see if there's some better... I gotta thin out these trees. To see if there's better assets out there for doing that sort of thing by now. Like, there's gotta be. So... So yeah, once that's done, I will get it out to you guys, and I'll do a release video to kind of showcase it a little bit. Might develop a session or something like that if I can. Autosave. I'm trying to thin out some of these trees here. I noticed my frame rates got really crappy recently, and it's just because these background trees, I copied and pasted them a long time ago, and I kind of just went crazy with it. And then I'd select another area and then copy and paste that huge area down. And I think what I started off was like a not very dense forest. And then over time, when I was like copying and pasting, it just got denser and denser and denser and denser. And now it's just completely out of control. So I gotta thin out some of this so we can get some better frame rates. I hope when I get this out for you guys that it runs okay, because I do have a fairly... Actually, my computer is very beastly. And I know, like, I put a lot of detail into stuff, and while it runs fine on my PC, like, it might not be so great on some of you guys' PCs. But hopefully that's not a problem. Speed trees especially, that's why I try not to use speed trees, because they really start to lag out my frame rate. Alright, so let's do... So we got that. That's going pretty good. We can kind of copy and paste and work our way down a little bit. Let me add a couple more spruce trees. And then I think I want to work over here a little bit and just kind of round off this area. I'm not going to do too much... Well, I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm not going to do something because I don't know. We'll see. Put a couple of these spruce trees. I love these spruce trees. They came out a long time ago, and I still think that they look really great. They don't move like speed trees, but I don't really necessarily think they need to. And they don't seem to be too much of a frame killer. Let's move. Always, there's like a 90% chance that I'm not going to be able to move the right asset that I want to. I'm gonna grab something else. Maybe we'll throw a couple over here too. Another thing that's kind of cool is if you change the height on some of these, just to give them a little bit more diversity. I usually just kind of stick them in the ground a little bit, and that works out pretty well. What is my lighting at right now? This looks kind of contrasty. How's my audio? Is my my mic in a good spot? Edit environment. Sometimes I start to talk really softly, and I'm not sure how sensitive this is. Just the time of day a little bit. I like playing around 2 or 3 o'clock as the time of day. All right, so that's fine. We will. No, you know what? I gotta do a couple more things here before I leave the spot. We're gonna go here. I need to put down. Where is it? I wish there was a better way to name stuff, or like if you could give things custom names a little bit more easily. Because everybody has their own way, has their own like naming system. And it doesn't always just, like, match up or make sense. Like, it probably makes sense to the person who made it and makes sense in their catalog, but for me, sometimes I'm just like, what? Let's see, I need this. No, not that. I need this grass. I want to pick this grass. There we go. That grass is good, and then I really like these things. Where are they? These, let's see what they're called. Verbascum thapsus, I think. I can't, my eyes are kind of blurry. But I really like those. I see these a lot up in New York. And they definitely really complete like an overgrown sort of, I don't know, old rustic railroad track sort of setting. I like that a lot. Yeah, the copy and paste. I wish you could go like on a 45-degree angle or something like that, but it's only 90-degree angles that you can go with. And yep, I would agree that that is kind of annoying. What was I doing? I'm gonna use some of this. So Bill M on the original route, he used a lot of this like dry stuff, and I like the look of it. It's a little small, but oh, you know what? The jointed rail guys, I don't remember who it was, said I should try the Grazzy stuff. Spell that right? So let's see what this looks like. I think there's brown versions. Oh yeah, all right, that's much better. That's good stuff. There's another series. Why are these ones no good? Ah yes, I think we might have a winner. Winner chicken dinner. I think maybe we can kind of like mix them together a little bit. One thing that I also find is pretty beneficial is to mix color tones a little bit. So instead of just using just brown, I'll throw in maybe like a lighter brown or a light green. Kind of mix it a little bit. Yeah, it's pretty cool. These look a little tall though. Maybe we'll drop it down a little bit. Yeah, that's looking nice. That is cool. So we'll do that. We'll throw, let's see. Let's throw one here. Kind of blend it a little bit and spread it out just a tiny bit. And we'll throw a few over here too. Oh, I don't know if I like that color for this. Maybe this one. I do think that they're a little bit on the tall side. That would be my only complaint. They just look a little too puffy. I think maybe for like in some scenes, what am I trying to say? Some scenarios, that's what I'm trying to say. It would be pretty good to be that fluffy. You know, one thing that I wish existed too, and as somebody who doesn't know anything about 3D Studio Max or Gmax or anything like that, I don't know if it could even be made. But something that an asset that could stick to the ground and conform to the terrain that's not a spline. So, like, for example, like the Grazi spline, you can go up, and it kind of covers the terrain side just a little tiny bit. But it'd be nice if, like, something like these did that, because otherwise you get, like, these floating pieces. So, I don't know if that's something that actually can ever be made, or is, you know, real, but that would be really awesome. I actually think, oh, these are all... Why? Why are these not working? But these might be kind of nice to kind of layer in there too. All right, let's figure out what we're gonna do over here. Take another sip of water. Throat's getting dry. Check the chat. I see a lot of red approach medium. Please help us stop the memes. Probably won't do Steam on the P&B. P&B is a pretty... It's a diesel modern sort of setup. So if there was ever Steam on it, it would be for like a tourist excursion or something like that. I would like to do a Steam era, 1950s era type route at some point. When that'll be, again, I have no idea. But that is something that I would really like to do. I love the transition stage, 1950s. Kind of steam to diesel transition era. Was a pretty cool time. I thought I made you a moderator. Can I do that really quick? Let me take a look here. Give me 1 second. All right, Boeing fan, you should be a mod. Yep. Do your thing. I can't babysit. I don't know who you are, so I'd rather not make you a moderator. Hey, let's behave ourselves in the chat. I can't see what's going on here, but we're here to talk about trains and that sort of thing. So let's keep it focused. I'm thinking for this area, let's see, what could we do? Some kind of an abandoned thing might be cool over here. Yeah, what do we think? Guys, what do we think we should put over here? Should it just be kind of a dirt patch, or should we throw like a... Oh, you know what? I know what I'm gonna do. Okay, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna do a sort of a quick guerrilla style, sort of like storage, construction material sort of storage place. So just to add a little bit of flavor over here. And I'm not too concerned about this terrain being perfectly level or anything like that. So we will do this. I have ridden behind a steamer. When I was a kid, my parents used to take my brother and I down to Steamtown, and we used to ride the trains down there. I don't know what kind of steam engines we used to ride, but we did ride down there, and we were at one time, actually, one of the years that we went down, the train I was on was involved in an accident. tragically ran over two brothers on the train tracks. I guess what happened was that the steam engine was running backwards, so it was like the tender was in the front. So it was running in reverse back to Steamtown, and I guess there was like a bend that we were coming around, and these kids were, they were on like four-wheelers or something like that. They were on quads, and they stalled out like on the tracks or next to the tracks or something like that, and the two brothers were trying to fix it and get it started, and they didn't hear the train come, and the engineer didn't see, and the conductor didn't see the kids on the tracks until after they got hit, and then we were stuck on this train. They put it into emergency, and we were stuck on it for, I think we were stuck on it for like 5 hours. It was absolutely ridiculous. I think I was probably, I want to say I was probably about 10 or so. My brother was probably about 6, something like that. Yeah, it was pretty horrible. So that was probably back in like 95 or 96 or something like that, if I had to guess. I was a young lad back then. Let's see, we'll do this. So, let's see how we're gonna do this here. Ooh, there's a big deep hole there. We gotta level that out. So yeah, what I'm thinking for this is just kind of a, some kind of like a storage area for maybe like backhoes and like a shed. Maybe not necessarily a municipal storage area like the one I built in Vani. But we can do something kind of similar. This would be more like maybe one of these guys out here owns some construction material, and that's just his place to store it. So let's see, we will go with a fence, of course. I'm not gonna go too crazy with the fence. I think this is the one that I use. We'll do the barbed wire. We need a happy story now. All right, let's see. What is a good happy story? Did I just hit the undo button? Is that what just happened? Happy story to do with trains. It's tough for me to think of think and do this at the same time. What's a good story? So let's see, let me go into grid mode here so I can see what I'm doing. Oh yeah, so let me back up a few stories and go back to the Catskill Mountain Railroad, how I got a cab ride last year. I do have like a whole bunch of video from that I need to put together into something. I was gonna do like a little mini documentary, but I haven't had time to really develop where I'm going to go with it and that sort of thing, but I have a ton of raw footage of my cab ride, from looking out the window, looking at the engineer, crossing the roads, flagging the roads, all that sort of thing. I think I had my GoPro set up on the window and looking out so that you could see sort of like a POV view, and then I had 2 cameras in the cab with me. One I was just filming out the window, and one I was using to film the engineer. So that was cool. That's something that I do need to put together, and I think you guys would probably enjoy seeing some of that stuff, if I had to guess. Let's see. I guess I could tell you guys about... something. I'm trying to think. I used to work on film sets, and I'm trying to think of like a fun story of that. Something fun or something funny. Let's make an entrance here. So I think I'm not gonna like close this in. I'm not gonna fence it in totally. This might even be too big now that I'm looking at it. I gotta find the texture I use underneath my roads, which is this one. So let's see, put this through here so we get a little like gravel sort of spillage underneath the road. And just trace the whole path of it. Another route that I would like to build, another map that I would like to do is when I was living down in Brooklyn, I used to bike to a lot of the abandoned railroads that were down there. Believe it or not, there used to be a lot of railroad action down in New York City. A lot of harbor railroads, they called them. So they would take cars from New Jersey or whatever, and they'd put them on a barge, and then they would transport them over the Hudson through over New York Harbor, and they'd land them down in different parts of Brooklyn or the Bronx or on the east side of Manhattan, or the west side of Manhattan, not the east side. So there were these huge freight terminals there with like a lot of street running and street trackage, and they didn't actually really go anywhere, which I always found was really interesting. It would be like kind of a yard for the barges to unload, and then a couple of industries, and that was it. The tracks never really went anywhere else. Excuse me. Much better. So there was actually a lot of different railroads went in there. I think there was the Erie, the D&H, New York Central, obviously. Trying to think of what other railroads were down there. Lackawanna. There was just dozens and dozens of different terminals for different railroads. And that would be pretty neat to do, kind of like the shoreline of Brooklyn. And just do a whole big... oh, I'm on the right thing. Do a whole layout that was just all of that. My favorite area that I used to bike to was Bush Terminal, and they still operate some trains on it, not to the extent that they used to, but there's a ton of street trackage down there, and it's all out of service. It's been out of service probably for about 20 years at least, if not more. And that would be really, really cool to build that. And actually, in one of the model railroader books, I think it's like medium-size track plans for medium-sized railroads or something like that. They have a whole track plan diagram of that whole area. So it would be pretty cool to do that, like a track for track sort of thing. It would probably need a lot of custom buildings though, because a lot of the factories down there, the train tracks would go inside of the buildings or kind of like up between them, like through alleyways. So sorry, just peeking at the chat for a second, seeing what's going on over there. So yeah, that would be really great. And I just picked up a book called Harbor Railroads. I think like New York Central Harbor Railroads, or New York Harbor Railroads, or something like that is the book. I picked it up at the train show in Springfield this past winter. And it was like just before I moved, so I haven't even had the chance to read any of it or anything like that. But that goes over all the different railroads that were there, and what they moved and all that sort of stuff. So that would be, I think that would be a really fun project, and it would pretty much open up the door for almost any sort of engines and all that. And I think the busiest time was the transition era. I think back in the 50s and 60s, and I want to say that the terminal that was on Kent Avenue, and I don't remember the name of the terminal, they were still switching with a steam engine up until like the late 80s or something like that, a little potbelly steam engine. So that would be pretty neat to model, I think. Let's see, I need some textures here. I'm lost without my pick lists now. I just don't know where anything is because I never took the time to, like, figure out what the names of these things, all this stuff was. I think the only one I remember was Merva, I think is one of the ground textures I use. Yeah, that's the one. I do like this one a lot. I find that it blends really nicely with the dirt, and it has that kind of like dried up, dusty, dirty sort of look that I like a lot. I think this is going to be way too big, but I'm going to make it work. We're going to make it work here, kids. Well, not everybody here is kids, right? Some adults. Good work there. Thank you, Ish. Oh, welcome. I didn't even see you pop in. Alright, so what I need to do now is I need to find like a shed. Man, my contacts are dry. I can't see anything. Like, I gotta get like a 4K monitor. This is just not, my eyes cannot read this text half the time. Is this shed? Did it really just search shed and it came up with that much? What do we got? Abandoned shed. That's kind of neat. Cool. Might use that. No, I don't need an engine shed. Don't need something like that. Track shed, no. I need Aussie farm shed. What do these look like? Sometimes I'm tempted to just disable all non-US content, but at the same time, there's some stuff out there that is really good for some of like the, I think that's the JPK stuff is European style, but some of it is really, really nice for use in, it's all nice, but I mean for use in American style stuff. All right, what am I looking for? I really want like a like one of those corrugated, maybe that's what I should have searched. Like a corrugated shed that's kind of like really beat up. What is this? What do you look like? Interesting. Casting shed. Industrial shed. Old brick shed. Nope. Oh man, there's a lot of options here. What are you? Okay, this might be a possibility. That's the same thing. Medium corrugated. Alright, that might work. Small? You might work too. This is just going to be shed land over here, I think. Oh, the FMA stuff too, I think is more European style. Let's see. That's really nice. Can I make use of this somehow? I might make use of this guy. I think it might be European style, but I might be able to make use of this. It fits. Oh yeah, this is, I'm definitely gonna make use of this. It definitely fits this area. It's pretty big, so it doesn't actually fit, but the look fits. I like the look of it. Alright, well, alright, that's kind of cool. I like that. I like that it's on an angle. I like that. That's gonna be good. What I need to do is unbury it, though, a little bit. Sometimes I feel like the sensitivity is, like, super... super sensitive. Where, like, I can... It's just like a hair trigger could set it off. Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is gonna be cool. I'm digging this. Definitely digging that. And I need to straighten that out because that's gonna drive me bonkers. Oh, I need another spline point in there so I can actually bend it. So yeah, let me, I guess I could take a second and talk a little bit about other projects in a second. Let me just, I got my focus face on right now. I need to get this straightened out. Bring you up to there. Oh, you know what? I didn't turn on for you guys. Let me do it right now. The Kuid thing. Oh, this is it. Watch me crash the game right now. You know what? Let me do let me do a save first. Let's save. Just overwrite everything. $40 miles an hour. What does that even mean? Bowtie Nation, welcome. Nope, we're still going. Probably have could probably go for another hour at least. Till everybody gets tired and needs to go to bed, I think. So yeah, what I was gonna turn on for you guys is this. I gotta remember where it is now. This Kuid thingamajig. Limit contextual information to randomly rotate. Yeah, I want to do that. Why does it not checked? Auto high menu bar. Extract. It's probably right in front of me, and I'm missing it. Shows performance statistics. Show performance statistics. Disable. Why would you ever want to disable, undo, and redo in Surveyor? Like, who? What kind of like masochist is gonna do that? Oh man. All right, let's see. Yeah, this is it. Show object track train Kuids in Surveyor. So now, right down here in the bottom right, I don't unfortunately think there's a way for me to make that any larger. But that should, anytime I change objects, that will give you the Kuid, and then you guys can go download it. Oh, I see. 40 miles an hour equals approach medium. You're talking about the signal aspect. 40 miles an hour that's a decent speed. I can get around town doing that. I try to avoid the highways anyway. All right, what else am I trying to do here? So let's do this. I like this guy. He might go off in the woods. I think that's a relic of like some old times past kind of. Let's see, vegetation. Let's do some of this. Do some of this again. I kind of tend to like focus myself a bit on like little. I'll do like a really broad area, and then something like this I'll see, and I just want to. All right, get out of here, tree. Then I just want to like zoom in on it and complete that as a scene, because that's just what I'm seeing in my head. So I'll just keep working with that. Look at this. Why am I moving this tree? I'm not even clicking on it. I cannot stand that. So irritating. All right, tree, you can go. Put you back some other time. So irritating. So we'll throw some of this stuff down. Look at that. I just moved a tree without like grabbing the shadow. Unreal. All right. So I need to find some shrubs. And we're just going to make this kind of like overgrown a little bit. And you know what? It's sometimes I take a step back and I ask myself, why am I doing this? Why am I putting this? Why am I wasting my time like detailing this scene all the way back here? Like, it's way back behind the tracks, but it's going to make a difference. It always does. It gives more environment and it adds depth and realism to the scene. So that's why I do it. But sometimes I'm just like, man, this is just pointless. You're gonna see this like once in a million years, but when you do see it, it does make a huge difference, and it brings the scene to life. So I guess I could justify it like that. I did want, you know what? Let's just bring these trees back in. Not you, jeez. So frustrating, man. I'm gonna grab every other tree around here except for the one that I want. There we go. Because I liked the way that looked. All right, let me just Let me just put a new tree down. Give me something. There. Alright, when we do that, we'll throw a little bit of dirt on the ground and soil up the area a little tiny bit. Get rid of that. Cool. Yep, I like that. I like that back scene. That's cool. So let's see. Let's take this guy. And then we're going to move him over here. Okay, yeah, so I totally lost my train of thought. I was going to tell you guys about some of my future projects. So, this isn't like an official announcement or anything, but I do have a project that I am gearing up to get started with in conjunction with Jointed Rail. It will be a full map, and it will be a northeast route. It is gonna be a payware route because there's gonna be a lot of stuff that I'm putting into it, so that one is gonna have to be a payware. I don't know what it's gonna cost, but it'll be right up there with like the legacy of the BN and Coal Country and stuff like that. So it'll be a map that is within that kind of category, but it's gonna be a full-size, hopefully track for track railroad depiction of a rail line up in the northeast, and I'm not gonna divulge too many more details about it because I don't want to spoil it, because I want to do an official announcement sort of thing. But I have been trying to develop all of the branding and like an intro and title cards and pretty much all of that like now, so that way like I can kind of just jump in and start shooting it and start building right away and start making videos, and then I don't have to like think about what my thumbnail is going to be and what my what the branding is going to be, what the intro is going to be for each video and that sort of thing. It's a lot easier when you prepare. When you're prepared, things just go much more smoothly because then you can focus on what you're trying to do. And that's one thing that's really challenging with making videos, is that each one is a little bit different. And I kind of just jumped into doing this YouTube thing, and I didn't really take the time to come up with like a really solid channel art, intro sequences and title cards and stuff like that. Like I've kind of just been developing it as I go, and that's definitely not the best way to do it. Put a spruce tree over here too. It works, but I mean, if you can get everything done beforehand, that's even better. Will I release the route in whole when I finish doing the whole thing? Of course. There's a tremendous amount of work to go. I'll show you real quick since we've got everybody here. Pretty much this is phase 1 right here. So once this is done, this is going to be the first section. I know I've shown this before, so if you can roll your eyes if you want, but the rest of the map is got a tremendous amount of work to go. So it might be a long time before the whole thing is finished, but my intent is to get the whole thing finished. It's just like as I go through and do the level of detail that I like doing, it just takes time. Part of me starting this YouTube channel was to kind of give me more of incentive, I guess, to put some work into it, because like I've said, I've been working on this route since like 2009, 2010 basically. And you know, there's no, we've got, you know, right now, what do I have, like 1,540 something or 50 something subscribers. Now that I've got that many people like asking me how things are going and keeping me motivated and keeping me interested in it, and everybody's enthusiastic about it and that sort of thing, that helps keep me motivated. So that's what I wanted to do with making the YouTube thing, so that I could actually get this done and get it out to people, because I think the P&B is a fantastic map with a great story and great backstory, great outline and everything like that. So I really want to get it out so everybody can enjoy it. So let's see, I want to use some... I like using all this derelict stuff to kind of like dirty up the area, but I'm trying to remember what I use. Scrap metal, roofing tiles. I think it's like the scrap corrugated sheets. Maybe that's what it's called. Again, my eyes are so blurry I can't like read any of this. Cardboard pile. Alright, let me try this. Wait, sheet metal? Nope. Corrugated. Oh, you know what? Why am I still searching for this? Let me just use the pick tool and grab it from over here. I think I have some over here. Sometimes, like, if you're watching my video and there's like a cutaway while I'm doing something like this, it's because I go fly to another area and find like a detail item that I've used in the past and select it because I can't remember what the name is. Like right now, that's what I'm gonna do is go fly over to Vani and grab this. This is what I want. Let's see what it's called. Derelict iron sheets. Okay, so I need to put that into a pick list. Create pick list. We'll call this details. Sure. Why not? I'll know what it is. So yeah, what else? What other projects am I gonna do aside from the big one that will be a payware? I would like to do another model railroad. I would like to do like I said, the Brooklyn car float terminals and that sort of thing. I think would be pretty cool. So that's on the agenda. I do have a bunch of other tutorials that I would like to do for you guys as well. Special details. And I'm probably going to forget to like put that back too. So maybe another model railroad, but now with SP2 out, I haven't updated yet, but I think SP2 is now basically has like Trains Model Railroad built into it, TMR, so I might not actually be building in TMR anymore. I think I might just build right here in Trains A New Era. What am I moving? Just because like all of my assets, oh my gosh. All of my assets, all the detail assets that I use are in are here in Tane. So like when I was doing needles, I'd be like, oh, I could use this detail or this asset. And I'm like, oh, no, wait, that's installed in Tane, not in Trains Model Railroad. So it got kind of a pain to go back and forth between all that. So I might just do everything in Trains A New Era so I can keep it all consistent. Same with like engines and stuff like that. Just got too much to try to bounce around. Let's throw some more of this stuff in here. Throw some of that down. Peek at the chat. Take a sip of some water. I got lemon and lime in my water. It's quite delicious to do that. Let me do a little bit of this. All right, so now I want to add some of the main details that I was trying to do. So let's see, cat. People are messaging me through everything right now, which is distracting. What am I doing? Oh yeah, so I was thinking what I'm gonna put in here is maybe like a couple of pickup trucks, like a Cat 5, one of these things, backhoe sort of thing. Would be kind of neat. Yeah, we'll toss you over here. So I feel like I'm driving through the countryside. I see a lot of like this sort of stuff just like stowed away on the side of the road. And I'm looking for like an actual backhoe. Excavator? Yeah, that's the ticket. Put you over here. So not like they're doing work here or something like that, but this is like somebody's like storage area. So let's do trailers. I always love putting these trailers out too. That's cool. Throw a few of these around. PB&J, yeah. Alright, let's see. I don't need that. What do we got here? Cool, I like that. I like trailers with things on them. This is a agricultural machinery part with wooden bars. That's what we should do, put some John Deere stuff in here too. I think would be very fitting. Put that there. You want to model a stretch of line from Grand Central, New York, up past Bear Mountain. That's a big that'd be a big project. Throw some lumber racks in the empty space. Yeah, I could do some lumber stuff too. What was the next thing I was gonna put in here? Pickup. There's never like I can never find like a big selection of like new pickup trucks. This one's alright. Oh, and I knew it. I totally forgot to switch back my layers. I wish layers was like its own pull-out, like in Photoshop, where it would just stay open so that I could see like what layer I'm working on. It's just really irritating to, now it's on the wrong layer, to have to find the tab, because I constantly forget what layer I'm working in. So let's see, we'll put this back on the route layer. And we will lock this. Move this over. What else we got? This old thing. Now what? Cannot add object as currently selected layer. Special. Am I not? Oh my gosh. Alright, that's fitting. That's cool too. I'm into that. I don't really know what this building is supposed to be for, but I like it. Okay, yeah. What else? What else? Yeah, so P&B is always going to be it's going to be an ongoing project, and there's a ton of work to do, and some of the areas that I'm going to be doing in the future are kind of scary to me, to be honest with you, because one of them near Allegheny Yard is kind of like in the middle of a city, so it's going to be a lot of city streets and strip malls and that sort of thing, which I think is going to be really cool, but it's just going to be a whole tremendous amount of work to actually get put together. It's going to be pretty time consuming, and I hope to be able to get back to making videos too. Right now, the reason I decided to do this live stream was, I mean, I had been planning on it for a while. I want to do live streams, like, I don't know, semi-regularly if I can. But right now, just because I haven't had the time to sit down and make videos, this is just like the best way for me to actually make some progress working on this area, and then be able to talk with you guys like one-on-one pretty much, or as close to one-on-one as possible while I watch the chat and try to like keep making progress. So let's see. Lumber. So we got some lumber stacks we could put. We'll just throw a couple like laying around. I know that in real life here that wouldn't be necessarily the case because it's gonna rot. But we'll do a few here and there, and then we'll throw a few in the shed. There was some load that I had somewhere that was really nice. That's kind of cool. We could put that in here. Yeah. All right. This is why I put things on the special details layer. Special details. But yeah, that area up by Allegheny is going to be really, really ridiculous because I wanted it to be... I always love the way that rail yards look, like, right in a downtown area. I think that's pretty neat. So I wanted to do something like that. Not really thinking about how much of a pain it's actually going to be to do. But I think it'll be... I think the look, it'll make it worth it. When you're driving a train, you go through the countryside, and then you come out into like a main downtown area. Definitely gives some contrast and some more added interest to the route itself. So I'll probably do something like that. So let's do... I want to break this up a little bit more so it's not this just big empty dirt area. I'm going to add sort of like a little cluster of trees. Come on. So we'll do... Let's see if the cars are going to come in there. Just put a little bit of dirt. And it's a little bit of this. A little bit of this. Just blend it little by little. And then I'm going to need some of this. And then I can go do something like this. So this might be cool to put like one of those big big pine trees there. And I like these two grasses. I find work really, really well together. 346 and 347. This one is a little bit darker and denser, and then 347. Ooh. Wait, is that the right ones? Yeah. So it's tough to tell the difference, but the one is less dense and shorter. This one's more dense and darker. This one's a little bit less dense, a little bit shorter, and a little bit of a brighter green. So I kind of like mixing those two. Kind of use the darker one. Oh, I'm still in the... I gotta switch my layers again. I like using these to kind of blend a scene together. Route layer. That's the route layer. So I guess that must be the only other one. Cool. All right, so we switch back out of that, and then I don't forget again to do that. Put you over here. And usually if you kind of like adjust the height a little tiny bit, it adds, you know, now it's not all the same. It, you know, it breaks it up a little tiny bit, so that's cool. Do a shrub, which I think I will also adjust the height to. And then we got, throw one of these trees. I like these trees a lot. And I like the variations of the trees too. Some of them are shorter or taller. They're pretty much, it's the same texture and everything. It's just like a different height. But if you do it right, you can kind of use them together nicely. That looks cool. And let's throw a spruce in. We'll do this one. Move the spruce out just a little tiny bit. All right, that looks kind of cool. Oh, I need to add some of the brown stuff too. I feel like the brown grass on the edges works really nicely to kind of, I don't know, bring it in. What happened to my grassy? Oh, it's at the bottom there. Throw a little bit of grassy grass in there. Yeah, that's looking pretty cool. Neat. All right, so we could also add some stuff over here. And maybe even some shrubs. That's too big. I gotta do smaller shrubs. That's 3 meters. 2 meters might be good. Yeah. I dig that. I'm digging that. Definitely digging that. .2. A couple random small ones in there too. Alright, yeah, that looks like a cool roadside looking truck stop sort of place. I like it. What we could do is blend in our ground texture just a little tiny bit more. Go ground texture. Go here. And just add a little bit extra just to roughen it up just a little tiny bit. Doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing in nature is perfect, so keep it kind of mixed up like that. Sometimes it pays not to rotate the texture, even though I like to rotate it all the time. You get kind of like this rough patch when you don't rotate it, and that's kind of nice to have on occasion. Not everywhere, but definitely helps. Get a little over here. Cool. Let me peek at the chat for a second. Yeah, I think maybe we'll take a spin in a train before this is over with. We'll do that. Let me let's see. I need to do a little bit back here to blend this together, and then figure out what's next. Yeah, please, no politics on this channel. There's enough of that everywhere else on the internet. No politics here. Please, that's all I ask. That's cool. I'm digging that. Let's do another texture, maybe. I don't want to do too much grass. Where is the texture that I'm looking for here? Is it under Merva? Yeah, this guy. Nice kind of muddy. Kind of follow some of the terrain creases. You know, like as if there was runoff. Any of the low-lying areas where the rain would run off tend to be a little bit more muddy, a little bit darker. So we will do stuff like that. Change up. One thing I noticed in my travels recently when I was going downstate for a wedding is the amount of wildflowers that are just all over the place. And as I'm driving, I'm like, man, I don't have any flowers anywhere, I don't think, on this route. So I need to get some wildflowers in some areas, I think, because they just really permeate the countryside. If you're driving down the road next time, just take a look outside, and you'll just see so much color. Lots of yellows and whites and purples and just huge patches of it. So I'm gonna have to try to work that in some places, because I think that looks really nice. This is kind of a weird song. I don't know about this song. I don't know where it came from. Alright. Wrapping that up into there. Okay, let's move some of these trees around so we fill it in just a little tiny bit. Start to make this feel a little bit more like a real place. Should be cool. Yeah, I think we're getting there. That looks pretty nice from up high. I like it. I dig it. All right, let's see. What am I going to do next? All right, well, that filled in the area really nicely. I could probably come back and add some more details to this. But it's definitely a good start. I like it. Maybe we can just look real quick. Derelict. Oh, I spelled that wrong. So yeah, a lot of this derelict type stuff is just super, super awesome. All these old, this is like, I love this stuff. These old barrels, and it adds so much to a scene. Just to have like this kind of garbage all over the place. Do that. We should add some over here too. Autosave. So let's see, what time is it right now? 9:40. Probably go for maybe another half an hour or so. We'll see. I don't know. Stream's doing pretty good still. Add some of this stuff like that. It's pretty neat. Some other like junk. Sure, why not? All right, let's move on to something else. As much as I definitely am really enjoying this scene, we need to close this up a little bit more. Blend it together, blend it in so that the two scenes look more like they flow together rather than two separate scenes that were just built next to each other. So just do a little bit of texturing, drag some of this dirt out. Let's see. Let me grab that one. So yeah, my next video, I don't know when the next video is going to be because I'm still unpacking and still trying to get settled into this place. So I'd like to maybe get a video put together. Maybe I could start recording this week and maybe have another video next week. It's hard to say though. It's really hard to say. Because there's just boxes upon boxes upon boxes just everywhere throughout this house. And there's just a lot of work to do. But I'll get back to it soon enough, and I'll probably do a live stream here and there. I don't know what you guys think about the live stream. It looks like it's doing pretty good, so I could do maybe a live stream maybe once every 2 weeks or something like that, maybe. I don't know. Next weekend is kind of a holiday weekend without really being a holiday weekend because the 4th of July is on Tuesday. So I know, I'm sure a lot of people are probably making a whole weekend out of it, taking Monday off of work and just making a whole weekend out of it to go to the beach or whatever. So I don't know that I'll stream next Sunday, but maybe, because I don't even know what my plans are, to be perfectly honest with you. I think I've been traveling way too much, so I kind of want to just stay home and like barbecue in my backyard and hang out with my friends and stuff. So I might just do that instead. So Sunday I might be able to do another stream. Let's even some of this out. I feel like I had a bunch of other stories that I was going to tell you guys, and I can't. I'm like blanking out right now, trying to do both of these things. I have a notebook, like a project planning notebook, that I have everything, like all my show notes and stuff, like listed in there. And the one time I needed it, I ended up leaving it at my job. So I had all my notes for what I was going to discuss during the stream, and I forgot it at work. So it is what it is. Doing my best. Move some of these trees around a little tiny bit. I'd like to start producing some other content too. Like I would really love to learn Gmax or 3D Studio Max or whatever the going 3D modeling software is these days, and just try my hand at doing some stuff. Like some of the things I'd like to see. I always look at like city skylines and what that community is doing, and I'm like, man, I just wish I wish I had some of those assets that they have. Like, some of the stuff that they have that I think is really cool are, like, the road markings, which I think is really great. Like, I think one of them is, like, tire tracks and oil spills and stuff like that. And I think that there is some stuff like that for trains, but it's not the greatest right now. Maybe it was, like, content that was made a long time ago. So I'd kind of like to build some of that myself and just kind of take some inspiration from the City Skylines community, because they just have so much really awesome assets that they're constantly making new stuff. And I'm sure it's probably a lot easier to make City Skylines assets, but because it's all smaller files or smaller resolution and stuff like that for each building, you don't have to, like, you know, like here I can go right up practically inside of the building, so it has to be really detailed. City Skylines doesn't have to be quite that detailed, so they could probably get away with a lot lower levels of detail and stuff. So I'd love to get some stuff similar to what they have. They have a really great community too. If you ever go on Steam and just go to, like, the community hub for City Skylines, I'm always just blown away by what people are doing and producing. And a lot of the city building YouTubers that are out there are just got so much skill. They're so amazing to watch. I'm just trying to move around some of these trees. Let's see how we're looking here. I think this town is really starting to come together. I need to figure out what to do about this smoke, because this is just out of control. I think, like, if there's a way to dial this back, I have to figure it out. Like, this is at, like, 11. I gotta bring it back to, like, 4 would be fine. Like, the amount of smoke coming out of these guys is fine, but, like, up here, holy crap, man. Like, look at this. This is like the whole city is on fire, it looks like. Alright, so that's looking good. Let's do a little bit of mainline stuff. Take a peek at the chat real quick. Catherine Mobley, what do I use as my inspiration? Well, I use the real world. I just spend a lot of time looking outside and looking out my window and just taking it all in. As I did a lot of work as a photographer, and I still do a lot of photography, so I'm kind of used to, like, framing up scenes and stuff like that, like looking through a lens and kind of imagining how something is going to translate into a two-dimensional image. So I think that that's probably where I got a lot of my eye from to get this sort of inspiration. That's not to say that not everybody could do this, you know, something similar, but that's where I get it from. It's just the real world, just paying attention to all the details that are out there, and you know, just the kind of stuff that's all around the side of the road, power lines. I like to call it visual noise, is what I refer to it as, is like your power lines and telephone poles and street signs and that sort of thing. It's stuff like day to day that you really don't pay attention to because there's no need to pay attention to it. Like you look out your window, you come up to a stop sign, you know it's there, you know what it means, but there's no reason to actually, like, analyze how it looks. You know, is it attached to a telephone pole, or does it have its own stand, or, you know, where is the stop sign in relation to another sign, like a crosswalk or whatever. You just kind of, like, look at it in passing, but I guess if you just pay attention more and just really look at how things interact with each other and that sort of thing, that's the best way to translate that into this digital medium, or really any kind of, you know, any kind of art. If it's photography or if it's painting, if you model in HO scale or N scale or something like that, you know, it's all about just looking at what the real world has to offer and just trying to replicate that as best as you can. Have a really critical eye and just pay attention, and don't do anything that seems outlandish and that wouldn't make any sense. Like if I made this, like this cliffside is pushing the limits a little bit, in my opinion, but it's not unheard of to have big cuts in mountain railroads. In fact, it's pretty common to have the railroad kind of come around the edge of the mountainside and be either built on a fill, but more likely a cut, around the outside of the mountainside. So if it's done not right, like this needs to be retextured. It can stick out like a sore thumb and just look god-awful. But if you take some time and just look at what the world looks like and how you can blend some of this stuff together, I think anybody can do it. I think the most challenging part, though, is like what you're seeing right here is actually trying to find the right assets to represent what you're trying to do and then use them appropriately, because right now none of this is looking good to me. Like, none of that. This is a little bit better, a little bit darker. So it's just a matter of trial and error and trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work, and then if something looks off, just take a minute and try to figure out what's wrong with it. I think I have some rocks, some boulders. Let's see. Yeah, let's see what these guys look like. That's kind of cool if, you know, we had some like fallen rocks, sort of like boulders laying around down here. Those guys are floating. Those are kind of reddish. Yeah, some kind of debris like this would be pretty cool. That's too dark. Yeah, I might have to jump over to the download station at some point and pick up some better rocks to kind of scatter around. Make it look a little bit more cliffsidey. Honestly, I think that's the toughest part in this game, is making like natural looking cliffs, like, because normally there's chunks of rock jutting out of it and they're not like totally even like this, so it's a little bit difficult. All right, let's clear that. I need my textures. We need this one. So spread some of this out and kind of give it an edge. If you look at like real cliff sides, they tend to have like vegetation like overhanging the side or like growing out of the side of the rocks and stuff like that. So that's always a possibility to try to do. Rock textures and rock by Trains Italia are absolutely awesome. Cool, I'll check that out. I should look at chat and talk the last half hour. What, like an AMA? We could do something like that if you guys if you want to do that. Yeah, I'm not really feeling this cliffside. I might have to revisit this like off camera and just spend some time. Give it some love. Some good cliffs on the download station. All right. Let me move some of these trees over. And see. Yeah, I guess maybe in the last little bit of this we could go into driver and kind of just do a little something simple. Chat for a little bit. Yeah, all right, that's all right. Let's. Oh, I see. I overrided this texture here. Let's go and do that quick. We have to make fix. And then, I think, you know what, let's copy and paste some stuff here. I think this, oh, it's on an angle. I think we could try to, that's the wrong way. It'd be nice if there was a preview in the paste, so I could actually see like what I'm pasting and where it's, the way it's oriented and everything. That would be pretty cool. So let's move some of these guys around. Do some stuff like that. Actually, maybe it would be cool to do some power lines along the tracks too. Might be nice at some point. This is kind of like a cliffside. Some of this grass, I tend to just, I don't know. If it's on a cliffside, I delete the grass because it's not usable. It's not worth it to have. Just drag some of this stuff up a little bit, and then we'll retexture it after. I'll move that there. I'll move this here. Yeah, because we're on like a cliffs, or not a cliffside, but like the edge of a fill. Autosave. Okay, here we go. These big trees, man, I'm really getting sick of moving them. Accidentally. Looks like we got some stuff over here I can move. So, I don't know. I think that this is like one of the best ways to get a lot of coverage and cover a lot of area in a fairly faster pace, is to do a little bit of copying, pasting, then you end up using the same assets that, you know, from area to area, and then you just kind of go through and make some fine adjustments here and there, and then just tweak accordingly. You usually get a pretty decent result. Some stuff, if it looks funky, then delete it, move it, whatever you got to do. I'm going to delete this one. Sometimes I end up with too many grasses or too much of the same stuff like in the same area, and it's like total overload, grass or shrub overload. That's good. That's just a tree shadow. And let's go up this way a little bit. Take a peek and see how this is looking. Yeah, this is getting there. It's starting to feel more like a mountainsidey sort of thing. We'll move you over here. And we're going to delete some of this stuff. And we'll retexture. Let's see, what else can I talk about with you guys? That's one thing that I'm worried about with my videos too, is like running out of things to chat about. I mean, I could talk about what I'm doing in front of me for forever, obviously, but that's not what I wanted. At some point, I'm gonna have like a shortage of stories or something like that. But I don't know. Maybe as things develop, there'll be more. I'll get more ideas for stuff to chat about and different ideas of different things. Let's take a look at. Let's just fly around for a second. Let me take a look at the chat for a second. What dirt do I use? Trainman sent me some recommendations via Twitter. I'll take a look at that. Talk about model trains. Well, let's see. The dirt that I'm using is... This one is brown dirt. Pretty simple. That's the Kuid right there down in the bottom. And I use this CSX Gravel Dirty. And there's the Kuid right there. Model trains. Yeah, I can talk about model trains. I used to model the main central in N scale. And that was way back in... probably the early 2000s. I was doing that. So I had a small N-scale layout in my parents' garage. Actually, before that, even when I was a little kid, my dad had a nice HO layout for me and my brother, and set up in the basement. We had a blast just playing with that. And I knew at a young age that I was going to be into this sort of thing, because at some point I transitioned from, like, you know, just watching trains go in circles, you know, in a big loop or a figurative track, and suddenly I just started to want to put down, like, the grass and stuff like that and ballast the train tracks. And I didn't really know anything about any of that. I was like 8 or 9 or 10 years old, or probably even younger. And I I didn't know what any of that stuff was, but I knew, I was like, man, that makes it look so much more real if you add this to it. Or if you add this to it. If you add the rocks to it. I didn't know that it was called ballast. So I always had that, like, at a young age, where I was just like, oh, I want to make this more realistic. I want to make it more realistic. Even though, you know, we were using, like, Bachmann HO scale trains from, you know, the mid-90s, which had those big, clunky, chunky, molded-on details, and they weren't really the best-looking models. But, you know, when you're a kid, you use so much more of your imagination that it hardly matters. But, yeah, so my N-scale layout, I built that based off of a model railroader track plan that I kind of adapted. It was on a 4x8 piece of plywood in my parents' garage, and I basically adapted the track plan to be sort of semi-industrial, like mainline running. It was point to point, and I kind of set it up so that there was staging in the middle, so it was almost a loop, if you could picture that, but it didn't ever connect. So it was like a dead end at one side of the loop, and the staging was in the middle of the 4-foot by 8-foot piece. So I'd run trains out of there onto the main layout, and they would come on into a paper mill, or the main line went through the paper mill, and did a big loop, or not a big loop, but it like went around the side, and then it came to a yard, and then I think it was like a 6 or 7 track yard, and then the main line continued off of the layout into another staging area that I built that kind of like wrapped underneath the layout. And I had a lot of fun operating on that. It was kind of my own design, and I made things up as I went. I was a teenager. I had no idea how to operate trains prototypically, but I was doing it just because I was bored. I didn't have any friends, so that's what I was doing for fun. And so that actually went through a few iterations before I went away to college. And once I went away to college, it got covered by a tarp, and it sat in the garage and got dusty. And then eventually I moved out of college, and my parents wanted me to take it down because they wanted to use the space to store whatever garbage that they had to store in their garage. So I had to take it down, and I broke it down, and I broke it down and tried to preserve as much of it as I could, but a lot of it was pretty much lost. And then my first apartment in Brooklyn, I had a little bit of space, just a bit of space to build a layout, and I built another main central paper mill. It was actually based off of, I always forget this guy's name. It was like an N-track module, basically. And I can't remember the guy who originally built it. Oh man, this sucks that this is not going to orient right. So I based it off of that. I made my own adaptations to it, and that only lasted about a year before I moved out of that apartment. It was kind of foolish for me to even try to set it up because I knew I wasn't going to be staying there for too long, but I had the itch, I had the bug, you know. I wanted to do something, so after being in college for 4 years, I wanted to get out and just get back into doing some of the modeling and stuff like that. I really enjoyed it. So that only lasted a year, scrapped that, and not much of it survived. Again, I tried to recycle the buildings and stuff like that, but for the most part, that was completely lost to history at this point. And my last apartment that I was living in for the past decade did not have any space whatsoever for an N-scale layout or anything at all. I think I eventually built like a small diorama in HO scale that's like 2.5 feet long and can fit like a boxcar, it was like, what did I have on there? A boxcar, a gondola, and a caboose, and that was it. So I just did that just so I had something to do in the wintertime. It was kind of before I got back into Trains a New Era. Actually, I think it was before Trains a New Era even came out that I was messing with that. So I didn't have any space for the past 10 years to do anything. And now my new place, I have a little bit of a space. I was considering maybe setting up some kind of an N-scale tabletop switching layout, but I've got a feeling I'm going to have my hands full doing the digital stuff for now, which is fine. So I'll do that. Ideally, one day I'd like to have like a big HO scale or N scale layout, like in my basement or like in a spare bedroom or something like that. Because I really enjoy more of the hands-on modeling. I like actually physically painting the locomotives, and I really enjoy weathering them and doing that kind of thing, decaling and super detailing and that. And I don't know, I just enjoy doing it more with my hands. Like I can actually like get in and physically touch the trains and you know, manipulate the couplers and stuff like that. There's something just very, very different about that. I do still love going to the hobby shows and stuff like that, and going to the local hobby shops and just like chatting up with some of the old dudes. It's like so many older people. No offense if you're older, but I'm older, but a lot of the people who are into model railroading in HO scale or N scale tend to be retirement age, or, you know, baby boomers or something like that, which is totally fine. I get along with them, people like that, perfectly, and I love just going down to the hobby shop and just hanging out and just chatting with these guys. And some of the layouts that I've seen in person are just so impressive, where I just can't even believe that somebody can actually, you know, physically put something together and assemble it with such detail. And it really is like a work of art, like a 3D work of art. The one person that comes to mind is George Silos. I don't know how to say his last name. He built the Franklin South Manchester, and man, it's a totally fictional layout. And if you get the chance to look up photos of that, just, it's so inspirational. Just everything is handmade. He handmade all these buildings. Everything is handmade, custom made. Super talented guy. I'd love to go check out his layout one day and do a video on it. I think he's in Massachusetts or New England somewhere, so it might be kind of a cool trip. I think he does still do layout tours, or he did. There was a time he was doing it, but I don't know if he still is. Yeah, I do agree that digital is better because you can very much more easily manipulate the scene and not have to worry about losing hundreds of dollars if you screw something up. Q&A. Is that what you guys are asking for? Let me scroll through here. Looks like you guys aren't behaving yourselves. Tisk, tisk. Alright, so let's do... Who do we still have here? We've got 58 people. Been streaming for a little over 2 hours. Let me just check out the chat for a few seconds here and see what's going on. Give my eyes a break. Give my brain a little bit of a break for a minute. The thing with N scale that I like is that you can, there's more room for trains basically. You can pack a lot. You can have a huge rail yard in N scale. Whereas in HO scale, you're not going to get as much of a rail yard. But the thing I like about HO scale is that it's got more details, so it's a little bit more nice. Yeah, I can't keep my eye on the chat constantly because then I don't see what I'm doing over here. Make a model railroad based on the P&B. Okay, that would be interesting. All right, let's just take a look. Let's take a look around quick and just get a lay of the land. So we did some mainline stuff here, which is cool. I'll come back and tidy up some of it later on. Definitely have to fix this cliff face. My next build project in trains, I'm not going to announce it yet. It will be a big project, track for track, prototypical railroad that I think you guys are going to like. Yeah, N scale is kind of difficult for me too because I don't have... My hands are not very steady. And N scale, if you're trying to do some work, you got to have some really steady hands, and it's kind of tough. All right, so we're flying down here towards Old Town Junction. A lot of this, so all this missing texture, this all happened when I ported this map from 2012 into Trains: A New Era. and so many of the textures just stopped working, or they just totally got borked. So I have to go through and retexture. What I've been doing is just doing like a bulk replace and just using like this green grass or something like that to do that. No, there will be no P, B, and J junction. That's a little repetitive though. If the J stands for junction, would it be the P and B junction junction? So I don't know. Yeah, digital is just, it's much smoother. Yep, so I gotta get a lot of this done. I have to do some work in this little development over here too, because I put down the buildings, and I only did the details like up close to where the tracks are, and then I just was like, oh, I'm so tired of placing these houses. And putting the driveways down and all that, so I never finished this, but this is definitely an area that I'm gonna rework and get cranking on some point. Conjunction junction, what's your function? I remember that. I'm old enough to remember that. Alright, so yeah, I'm just kind of flying around, just showing you guys, I guess, showing it off a little bit. Down this way is where the end of phase 1 is going to wrap out. So this is the end of phase 1. I guess I might as well. You guys are here, so let me show you a couple other things. We have a gravel... I don't remember all the names of these places. This is like a big gravel quarry. This, I'm looking forward to getting onto this project. This will probably be one of the first things on phase 2 that we'll get to. So I'm really looking forward to actually getting back in here, and it is an enormous quarry, probably way bigger than anything in real life would necessarily be, or maybe it's to scale, I don't know, but I do like this area, and I'm looking forward to coming back here, and part of the operation, it will be pretty cool. So yeah, we got that. I wonder if it's still here. Underneath the water. It doesn't look like it. There was this movie when I was a kid, and I can't remember what the name of it was or anything, but it had something to do with like this like not like the Loch Ness monster, but it was like a pond monster or something like that. And it ended up being the punchline of the movie. It was like a kid's movie. The punchline of it was that it was like one of these excavators was in this pile of, or in this pool of water, and for some reason it was filling up with gas, and then like the bucket part like popped up out of the water, and it looked like a serpent head or something like that. So all the kids thought it was like the Loch Ness monster of this little lake, and it just turned out to be like a backhoe. So I thought I had one in there to kind of like pay homage to that movie, and I can't remember what the name of that movie was, but I'm sure maybe somebody will recognize it. So yeah, it's getting starting to get late, so I think we're gonna wrap it up. Let's, I guess we can go into driver mode real quick and just take a look at these GP38s. Might be kind of cool, and then we'll wrap this up, because I have to get up at 6 tomorrow, so I don't want to be up too late. I had to reinstall the texture. It's not that I had to reinstall the textures. It was just when I ported trains from Trains 12 to Trains A New Era, I guess the textures just weren't compatible with Trains A New Era, or they were broken, or something was wrong with them. So they just basically disappeared. And when I ported this into Tane, anything that was giving me errors, I basically just deleted, because I was like, I'm not gonna waste my time trying to fix like thousands of different things. It wasn't thousands, but it was a lot. So I kind of was selective, and I mostly just deleted everything that had a problem. All right, let's pop into driver quick. And let's see, we'll set the time to, I think I've been doing this at like 15:30. Yeah, that's some nice lighting there. I do like that. Got good old who is this? Is this Adir? Yeah, good old Adir at the helm. He's somehow survived from the UTC days. Alright, let's do this and get rid of the junction overlays and then get rid of all that. The moment you've been waiting for. I kept you waiting for over 2 hours to just drive a train. All right, so like I said, there is a slightly newer version where the logo on the door, or I keep calling this the door. It's not the door. The side panel here is a little bit more more clear because I noticed it was a little bit blurry. So we have a better version coming, and I think it's available. I just didn't get to download it. Let's see what the interior looks like. Yeah. I'm into it. Didn't I turn off the junction overlays? What's going on with that? Okay, that's interesting. I did turn them off. Is that must be... Is that some kind of bug? Why? Junction overlays are off. Oh, wow. Okay, this is an interesting anomaly that we are witnessing right now. Well, that just disappears well. Yep. Very, very interesting. I have never seen that before. Let's check out some of the details. Do I have to change the facing? Is this facing backwards? Navigate to train details. I don't remember how to do that. Why is it not face forward? Reverse train facing. There we go. So now we got our headlight. Let's see what other features we got here. A few details. Cab lights. Ooh, that's cool. I've never seen this before, or I've never tried it, I guess. Cab lights, walkway lights. I gotta see what this looks like at nighttime. Where do I do that? I gotta go to quick drive. Go to what? 2000. Nice. Definitely digging that. All right, let's roll forward a little bit. Get the bell going. Let's get all that out of there. Now that is a handsome locomotive. Let's go back to daytime so we can actually see what we're doing. Quick drive. Man, that fits right in. Let's get a nice scenic sort of look here. Get rid of this garbage. Yeah. Oh, man. The bell is animated as well. Interesting. The horn. There's the horn. How is that really loud for you guys? Because I remember when I was doing this test the other day, it was like ear-piercingly loud for you guys, and for me it's like a whisper. Yeah, we should probably switch our tracks. Oh wait, can we get a view? I wonder. Can we get a view from the new scene that we built up here? What would that look like? Yeah, that's kind of neat. Can hardly hear the train, huh? Interesting. Okay, I can turn the volume up a little bit. P&B hoppers, yeah, I definitely want to do some P&B hoppers. These ones I just kind of threw on here really quick when I was making the screenshot for this stream. So, I would definitely like to do that, though. See how this looks going through here. Turn off the music. Yeah, I can do that. There we go. Why is this not doing? Why is this not working now? View details. Just wanted to turn off the interior lights. All right. Oh, because I'm on F5 mode. That's why. Cab lights, walkway lights. Let's get rid of that. Check out how it looks through some of the scenes that we were working on tonight. Pretty cool. Let's throttle up a bit. Cool, I'm definitely digging these, man. They fit perfectly into this map. I love how the engine sounds really old. Like that's like a GP38 that's just been worked to the bone. Quite lovely. Slow down here. What we could do is, let's do this too. Let's just stop this guy. What I'm gonna do is go back over to... Yeah, I will replace the track eventually. Just waiting for some track that I like. Let's turn that off. Let's go to Juniata Yard. Whoa, hi. And will everything render in? Yes. Alright, so I think I should be able to... have to try to find... Whoa. Just passed it. P&B GP38-2. Where'd you go? Oh. Is it this? Pretty sure it's the RS3. Where are you? There we are. I just want to see how it looks down here in this yard, because this is like the main... Oh, yeah. This is kind of the main hub on this end. Cool. Let's jump over. Go. Will every engine be freeware? That is a question that I can't necessarily answer. Where did I get the P&B GP38-2? This was made for me by Justin Cornell at Jointed Rail. So let's do this. Let's take this engine out real quick. We're not gonna do too much more. Let's line up some switches. It's good. It's good. Is it reversed? Yeah, it's reversed. Change the reversing again. Reverse train facing. Get rid of all that. And now we can get moving. That looks mighty, mighty fine. Put the headlights on. Throw the bell on. Yeah, I think you guys are really going to enjoy operating on this route when I finally get it out there. What's up, Bill M? Welcome. Are you just joining us, or have you been here? Awesome. Thanks for coming in, Bill. So I guess if you guys have any other specific questions, I'm gonna kind of follow this guy a little bit and then try to answer some questions on the chat. Keep an eye on the chat. We'll go for another, I don't know, maybe another 5 or 10 minutes, and then I think I'm gonna split. Am I still active on the forums? I am. I do pop in occasionally, not really too often because it's too much for me to keep up on. The Needles district is all Union Pacific and Santa Fe, so there's plenty of that out there. I think that's freeware. Will I have more engines? I hope so. I'd like to get some GP9s. I like Alcos, so I'd like to have a whole bunch of Alcos. Would be pretty cool. That would be ideal, I think. SD40-2. I feel like that would be a nice addition, but it might be a little bit too modern. I kind of like the idea of all this old second generation, secondhand kind of engines and stuff like that. So I might keep it more towards like the older equipment if I can. Do I like CSX? Yeah, I do like CSX. That was actually what I started operating on here initially, and what I was planning to operate for the most part until we started to develop the this P&B paint scheme. Which has been in development on the channel for a little while. We've been doing it together. What is the max speed on the route? I don't know right now. I think Bill might be able to answer that question better if he's still kind of hanging around. I can't remember offhand. I think the speeds are pretty low, maybe 40, 45 on like a straightaway. What is this? Can you do a shave and haircut 2 bits? Is this like a legit question? What are you talking about, man? Alco C425 would be awesome. I think what I'm gonna do with once I get my website going, I will be I'll keep you guys updated on some of that stuff, like in between videos, through my website. So I'll have like a blog or something like that. And this local right now, this is, I think this is the Vonnie local, which, yeah, I pretty much have had just built in the yard for a while, just because I tend to use it quite frequently for videos and screenshots and stuff like that. So this area does need some work too. Man, that looks nice. Look at that. Let's pause that for a second. That's just, whoa, no, I was trying to go slow. That just looks really cool. I dig it. So, yeah, this is it. I don't know. It doesn't look like you guys have too many other specific questions. Alco RS27. That would be cool too. Do I ever take the LIRR? Is that a question towards me? I used to take the Long Island Railroad when I lived down on Long Island. I don't anymore because I don't live anywhere near there. But I did quite frequently. Am I gonna fix the signals on the route? P&BE units, that would be pretty cool too. Signals on the route, yeah, that needs to be worked on. How long did it take you to build this route so far? Well, I've been working on this since about 2009, 2010. Very slowly. little by little. Railhead Railfan says hi. What's up, dude? Oh yeah, so Norfolk Southern extension. The way that I'm kind of, let's just like let this. I think this train can handle itself for a few minutes here. Yeah, he's got a green signal. We'll come back. I'm gonna have Norfolk Southern or CSX, one or the other, interchange all the way down here. This is kind of like a little interchange yard that I added. This kind of was a part of the original P&B, but not sort of like how I designed it. So these 3 tracks here will be interchange tracks, and I'm thinking either it'll interchange with CSX or Norfolk Southern going out in this direction. So my idea was to keep freight going on this main line over here and maybe having some kind of passenger service going on this branch over here. So this I left open for future expansion for someday. Like if I ever finish this, you know, I can add more to it and just always have the option of adding more. I'm going to put the music back on so it's not just totally dead silent. There we go. The P&B will be up for download once it's done. Yes. Okay, good. It didn't derail. All right, that's good. We're still controlling it here. We can speed them up a little bit. Hopefully I'll be able to announce to you guys what my next big project is going to be relatively soon. Where are we? We're almost in July, so I don't know. I was hoping to have gotten started on it by now, but all I could do is just a little bit of work here and there on the pre-production type stuff, and then once it's ready to go, it will. I'll do an announcement, and then I'll put up my first video. I just want to make sure that I have everything as prepared as possible to before I actually start building anything and making videos for it, because it is going to be a large, really. It's gonna be a big build. It's gonna be tough to do. Some SW1200s would be cool. Well, right now, yeah, this is only a Tane only route because it's being built in Tane, so not much I can do for any other version of it. Can't like backdate it or anything like that. Hopefully it'll be compatible with future versions of the game, assuming things don't get destroyed in the process, but we'll see how that goes. Do I use only JR crossings? Is that what you're just asking me? That's what I've been using. Are there other crossings out there that are good and good quality? The only other ones that I saw out there are the crossings that you use with that other crossing kit, like not the Atlas system, but the other road crossing kit. I haven't given those a try yet, but they do seem kind of cool, so maybe I'll do that. But right now, yeah, I only use JR crossings. Penn Central interchange would be a little bit difficult since Penn Central's been gone for quite some time. What problems did I notice from Trains 12 to Trains a New Era? Pretty much everything. Lots of the assets that I used just broke. But you know what? I was okay with it because that's in the name of progress. And if it was old, outdated assets and they were out of date and, you know, I needed to change them out for something better and new, I want it to look as high a quality as possible. So I had no problem deleting all the stuff that was broken and reinstalling new stuff. Oh, NJP Vlogs. Oh, I'm glad the tutorial worked out for you. That's really cool. Alright, guys. Well, I think that's going to do it for me for tonight. I need to start getting ready for bed and do all that sort of stuff so I can go to work tomorrow. Lots of good suggestions. I'm really glad that you guys were here to join me, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed doing this, because I definitely want to do some more live streams and more videos coming your way. Maybe I could do another live stream next Sunday, right around the same time, if that worked for you guys. Maybe I might do one earlier for some of my fans over in Europe. CSX coal through drags? Yeah, I think there will be some through traffic. There will be some intermodal through traffic, and some auto racks and stuff like that, so we'll definitely have some of that. But that's gonna do it for me, guys. I know you guys don't want me to leave, but make sure you follow me on Twitter or Snapchat or something like that, and we can stay in touch. I'll be back very soon, hopefully next week, with more stuff. Yeah, I know it's early for you guys over in Mountain Time. Thanks for coming, everybody, and I will see you all very soon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and your summer vacation, and thanks for behaving yourselves. Thanks, Boeing fan, for modding, and Bill, thanks for showing up. And yep, Glossers is waiting for boxcars, and so is M and Wes. All right, guys, good night. Thanks for coming.